Kalikimaka from Hawaii, ladies and gentlemen, on a Christmas day. We come back into Aloha Stadium one more time for the 10th playing of the G. Beagle Aloha Bowl, and it matches Georgia Tech and Stanford. And when you're an 18, 19, 22-year-old, it isn't all that hard to put on a football hat on a Christmas morning, especially when your opponent has the kind of legend and history that a Georgia Tech or a Stanford football team boasts. The weather today is typical Hawaiian. It's a little misty here and a little misty there and a little sunshine in between, and it's going to be quite warm as usual down on the stadium turf. It is also kind of unusual for me to stand here and say to you that in this matchup today, Stanford is the muscle team. But that's what Denny Green has done to the football program up at Palo Alto. And Coach Green says this about his team's work against Georgia Tech.
Well, I think we're going to be very physical. There's no doubt that Georgia Tech has great speed on their defense. They have some tremendous athletes, 4 All-Americans. And so they're a team that relies on quickness and mobility and athletic ability. I think for us to be in the ballgame, we're going to play very physical football with our offense. And to be honest with you, we're going to play very physical on defense, too.
Georgia Tech's Bobby Ross looks to an intangible as one of the key elements in the fortunes for his rambling wreck. Here are his comments.
I think it's important for us to get off to a good start. We're in a year of transition as a team and as a program, so that confidence factor is not what it was in 1990. But early success can build that confidence and help us a whole lot in the ballgame.
Well, Bob Greasy, it's been a season of inconsistency for Bobby Ross's Yellow Jackets, and the man in the middle of all of this is Shawn Jones, the quarterback.
Well, Shawn Jones is the key. He led them to a co-national championship last year. He is the all-time leading passer at Georgia Tech, and it has been a tough year for Shawn Jones, up and down. And as Bobby Ross said, it is very important for Shawn Jones to get off to a good start. It builds the confidence of the whole ball club.
Bobby Ross feels that their 7-5 record, all things considered, is not really that bad. Now, Stanford, on the other hand, comes in with 7 straight wins behind Steve Stenstrom, but it's a team that rumbles. They like to roll down on
at the beginning of the year, it was Glenn Milburn, the little halfback, who was hyping for a Heisman Trophy winner. But at the end of the season, it's Tommy Vardell, the big, strong, physical-type fullback. He gained over 100 yards 7 times this year, rushed for over 1,000 yards, was the number 3 scorer in the nation. And when you talk about physical, it begins and ends with Tommy Vardell.
Well, he's running behind one of the biggest offensive lines in college football history, too. It's an interesting matchup. It's going to be a fun football game. Georgia Tech and Stanford coming up.
Team 26, he's going to slide out to the right of your screen. Wide open. This is not a very good throw by Stenstrom because he throws it low and behind him. He had to come back for it. If he would have given him a good tight spiral, a quick pass, he may have been able to catch it and get in the end zone.
But the Cardinals operating first and goal from the 60. Vardell, he's in there, touchdown. So Georgia Tech's kickoff man Jarrett popped it up, and Milburn gave Stanford's first snap field position across midfield, and from there the Cardinals have stuck it into the end zone to lead.
This is just a big physical offensive line going at a defense that is more known for its quickness laterally than power right at it. And that's what Dennis Green said. We're going to run right at him inside the tackles.
The kick by Aaron Mills is good. 6 plays, 48 yards, a couple of ticks under 3 minutes, and Stanford leads Georgia Tech 7-0. Aaron Mills getting ready to kick it off for Stanford. Georgia Tech has not possessed the ball, and they're trailing 7-0. Kevin Tisdale, he is a junior from Columbus, Georgia. He's the deep man, back solo for Tech. And Mills gets some air under it at the 10-yard line for Tisdale. Looks around, finds a little crack, pops out of there with it. Georgia Tech gets a fine run back. So the Engineers will go to work. with very good field position up around the 40-yard line. A 30-yard return by Tisdale. Shawn Jones, number 10, comes out. He's a junior from Thomasville, Georgia. 6'1", 200 pounds. Thomasville's just up the road from Tallahassee. That's where Bobby Bowden likes to take his Seminoles night before the game home. Jamie Lincoln is a freshman who has blossomed some for Georgia Tech, and they've needed him because they ran out of running backs. And they go to the ground here on the first play with Lincoln, a freshman from Pittsburgh, carrying 185 pounds. He's taken down by Ron George. Georgia Tech's got some size along the front, too. Russell Freeman's 275 pounds. There's the front seven for the Stanford defense. And you can see they are far from what the offense puts on the scales. Vaughn Bryant's a converted quarterback. Darian Gordon's a converted quarterback, so they move them around up at the farm. You can recruit quarterbacks, but it's hard to recruit cornerbacks. You have to make them. Here's the pitch to David Hendricks. And Hendricks turns the corner for the Jackets and gets almost to midfield and very close to a first down. Along the Georgia Tech front, you've got Brian Bravey up there, a redshirt freshman from Farmingville, New York. His number is 74. You can't miss him because he weighs 310 pounds. Now, he's on the same side of the line as Mike Mooney. Mike Mooney weighs 320 pounds. So you've got 630 pounds on that one side. Two people. Shawn Jones looking around on the third down and short. Throws the ball complete to Michael Smith, and it's a first down for Georgia Tech on the Stanford side of the field, just inside the 45-yard line.
It's a nice play by Jones. It was a play action on third and short that wasn't there. He bought some time by getting outside the pocket, got outside and made the completion.
On third and a yard to go to that kind of a play is surprising to me. Put the ball on the 44-yard line. Jones still got it. Sets up, wants to go big with it. Instead goes underneath with it, and he's lucky to get it back. Really lucky to get it back because Darian Gordon, number 21, was right in front of Bobby Rodriguez. Rodriguez is squawking a bit about being shoved out of bounds by Gordon, but they're lucky that ball didn't wind up going the other way for 6.
That was a nice play by Gordon. Gordon was formerly a wide receiver. You mentioned that some of these guys have played other positions, mainly offensive positions for Stanford on their defense. He had an interception earlier this year, ran it back for a touchdown.
All right, second down and 10 for Shawn Jones, and he puts Jason McGill in motion. He pulls it down. It's a quarterback draw. And he runs the ball for about 8 yards as Sayon Albert makes the tackle for Stanford, number 16. He's a junior out of Phoenix. So now looking at third down and the better part of 3 yards.
Albert is the, excuse me, Keith, Albert is the leading tackler on the Stanford team from his free safety position.
You got Lincoln and Wilkinson back in the ball game for Georgia Tech. Jones back for the play action, pitches the ball over the head of the defender, gives it to Wilkinson, and Rodney turns in a fine run, gets a first down at the 24-yard line. So both the offenses come out in the ball game, moving it down the field.
To look at it from the end zone behind the defense, it's a fake to hold the inside linebackers. The wide receiver comes in and cracks on the outside linebacker. It's a well-designed play. 2 offensive linemen out, throwing their blocks ahead of the ball carrier, or the receiver. A well-designed play and a nice drive for Georgia Tech.
Jones keeps it, pitches it back to Lincoln. Lincoln's got a lot of daylight. He gets a block on the corner and goes inside the 10. Out of bounds, first and goal, Georgia Tech at the Stanford 7-yard line. Vaughn Bryant stopped him from getting into the end zone. He went to the side where those big people are.
Well, this is vintage Shawn Jones right here. When he does this, he held the outside linebacker, pitched the ball outside, and he had plenty of room to run.
And so they're knocking on the door. First and goal at the 7. Stanford leading 7-0 off their first possession. Georgia Tech trying to come right back, and Jimmy Lincoln cuts over the tackle and goes down to the 1-yard line. He's got quickness, splashes in there. Georgia Tech has had trouble this season putting the ball in the end zone when they have been down close.
Here's a look at what they've done so far this year. Lincoln was the ACC Rookie of the Year. He's a redshirt freshman. Gained 229 yards in 1 year.
Wilkerson has the ball. He isn't going anywhere. He probably lost a little bit on the carry. A 205-pound freshman from Franklin, Georgia. Ali Harris checked into the backfield, number 43, to give him the extra blocking back. Instead of going to his side, they went straight ahead, and the Cardinal defense stuffed them. So it is 3rd down and goal from the 2 now. And there's the big Harris. He's built like a brick. That's the distance they need to travel, and they just lost about a yard. Touchdown to Michael Smith, motioning out of the backfield, and Tech's on the board, and there's a penalty flag down in the end zone. But let's see about the penalty flag. Dead ball, unsportsmanlike conduct call for some reason against Tech. And it will not affect the touchdown, I don't believe.
It was after the play, and
celebrating a little too much,
yeah, taunting. I think they called it taunting. Here's a look at the play. The back is going to go in motion across, and then he's going to just come out. He's going to play action fake, and the ball is going to go out here. Good call on the inside the 5-yard line. Nobody goes with the motion man, and Shawn Jones sees it, makes sure that the ball is complete, gives it lots of air, and an easy touchdown.
Scott Sisson now is on for the extra point, a junior out of Marietta, Georgia. And here's what your penalty was all about. Conversation will get you a flag too if they hear it. Also got him chewed out when he got to the sidelines. Sisson holds virtually all the Tech kicking records. Bill Weaver is the holder. That's Herman's son. Remember Herman Weaver, the old Thunderfoot?
Thunderfoot,
yeah. So we have Stanford scoring in the first possession, Georgia Tech scoring in the 31-yard line now for the Stanford Cardinal in a 7-7 ball game. 4:37 to go first quarter. 3rd possession of the game for Stanford. Both teams still feeling around, looking for things. There's a little quick pop pass to the outside. Not much there because Ken Swilling, strong safety, was standing right there. Very dangerous guy to be dealing with, too. Chris Walsh made the catch.
Swilling had an outstanding year last year, Keith. Has really not played all that well this year. Missed 4.5 games with a hamstring injury. He's big. He's about 6'3" and about 230, but he just does not have the type of year that he had last year. Moved to strong safety from free safety, too.
2nd down and 7. The pass is away, and it's off the hands of Jamal Cox. I mean, he hit him right on the hands. So Stanford's lucky to get that ball back.
Marco Coleman was in his face and really forced him to throw it early, hit him as he was throwing the football.
So that's at least twice Coleman has won the battle with Whitfield, isn't it?
There's Coleman right there, number 95, a consensus All-American. Leads this team in sacks with 10. In fact, is the number 1 sacker all time in the ACC conference.
3rd down and 7 for Stanford. For protection this time, the pass is incomplete, and again, almost intercepted by Marcus Coleman. I mean, he could have gone for 6 as he stepped right in front of the tight end, Turner Bauer.
There's a look from behind the offense, from the right side going across to the left, throwing to the tight ends, 2 tight end offense. That's a small defensive back with quickness covering a big tight end. He'll eat that route up every time. They were expecting zone coverage.
And so Stanford's got to punt it for the second time. Jackets are going to get a little heat on him again, but a little better kick this time by Paul Stonehouse.
Great
Willie
punt.
Clay runs all the way back inside the 20, and then he is taken down at the 19. Retreated to 15, came back 4, 50-yard punt, 3:43 to go in the first quarter. Georgia Tech back to the attack. Go to the run. Smith with the ball. Michael Smith from Pensacola, Florida. A breath away from flying all by himself.
Just good blocking up front, Keith. The offensive line for Georgia Tech doing a nice job. And a nice job of running. You're in trouble when the first man defensively to make contact with the runner is the free safety.
You do have a problem, don't you? On first down, Shawn Jones pulls it down and coming around the corner. And the 200-pounder gets big yardage. And another first down for the Yellow Jackets.
Well, we go back to what Bobby Ross said in the opening, Keith, that Georgia Tech needed to get off to a quick start, a good start. Certainly, Shawn Jones has done that. He's run a couple of options, kept it himself, pitched it a couple of times. He's thrown the ball well, and Georgia Tech is moving the ball again on their third possession of the ball game.
Michael Smith stays in that backfield. The coaching staff likes what they see right now. He's playing with confidence. Speaking of that, look at that. Bounces off 2 tacklers and runs for a Georgia Tech first down at the Stanford 34-yard line.
So look at the battle in the line of scrimmage. Smith is just a redshirt freshman, but as you mentioned earlier, Keith, by this time of the year, after they've played 11 ball games, they're no longer freshmen. They've put in some work.
McGill goes in motion to Tech. Jones back. Tech quarterback ball again. He doesn't mess with it. He just drops back 3 steps and takes off. And he picks up big yardage. Got 9 yards, and we came into this ball game of the opinion that Stanford probably would be able to run it, and Georgia Tech would probably have to rely on Jones and throw it a lot. Well, and that's just the opposite so far.
Well, Jones is having a good day so far, a good quarter. He is the man for Georgia Tech, which is exactly what we thought they would need to win the ball game.
Second down, a long one. Just short of the Stanford 25. Ball is handed to Smith again. Misdirection, couldn't bring down. Smith runs for a first down, and he is finally brought to the ground by Tom Williams, number 36 for Stanford. It's first down, Georgia Tech, at the Stanford 18-yard line. Smith now on 3 carries, totals 38 yards. So Tech's moving the ball on the ground. Jimmy Lincoln is into the game now, and Smith comes out. Greg Lester comes off the field for Tech. Here's the pitch to Lincoln. Missed by a man. He's going to throw the ball back to Jones. And it is incomplete. Dave Garnett, outside linebacker, didn't know exactly where the ball was, but he managed to get there about the same time as the ball, and the Tech side of the field is screaming for pass interference.
The 42 on the right side of your screen was the man, the linebacker lined up there. Garnett is the man that calls all the defensive signals, the intelligent one on that staff. It's like he may have gotten there a little bit early.
That was interference.
Yeah.
Brings into question.
Yep.
Second down. Jones out of bounds at the 6-yard line. So Georgia Tech continues to pound it on down the field.
Like the wide openness, though, of the Yellow Jacket offense. Ralph Regan, the offensive coordinator, moving Jones around, throwing him a pass. Jones now has 4 carries for 43 yards.
Ball resting just outside the 5-yard line. It's first down and goal, Georgia Tech, in a 7-7 ball game. A minute and a half to go in the first quarter, and Michael Smith is back in the lineup with Rodney Wilkinson. Shawn Jones, back of the end zone, incomplete. Pass intended for Greg Lester. So it'll be second down and goal. Short of the 5. Tech shared the national championship a year ago with Colorado. Demolished Nebraska in the Citrus Bowl. Claimed that. This is the 9th play of this possession. Ball is given to Smith. Smith isn't going anywhere. He's down just about the line of scrimmage, as Stanford's defensive people penetrated very well. And among the first to get there was number 95, Coy Gibbs, son of Joe.
95 is a true freshman, Coy Gibbs. He was not playing at the beginning of the season, but they made some changes after about 3 or 4 ball games. They were after the first 4 ball games. Stanford started at 1-3. They've won their last 7. Stenstrom is the quarterback. Gibbs has been playing a lot defensively. A couple other changes.
Kyle Frederick is in there at guard now for Georgia Tech. Sore knee and all. Shawn Jones gets pressure. Ball thrown to Lester. He's down. Lost a yard. It'll be fourth down and goal, and Coy Gibbs made the play defensively for the Cardinal. And so Scott Sisson will come on, bringing that true toe of his into the ball game. He has kicked 5 game-winning field goals in his career that have come with in some instances almost less than a second to play in the game.
He's been outstanding, Keith. He really has.
And he's only a junior. This is a 24-yard try. Stacy Parker snaps it. A little high, but the hold is good, and the kick is good. And so at the end of the first quarter, Tech unties the score to go on top of the Stanford Cardinal by a score of 10-7. As we go to the second quarter of play in the 10th Jeep Eagle Aloha Bowl, Georgia Tech has gone to the lead over Stanford 10-7. Tyler Jarrett will kick it off. They switch directions now. Glenn Milburn and Ozzie Granardo are deep for the Stanford Cardinal. Good solid kick this time. Back to the 1-yard line for Milburn. The speedster from Santa Monica gets it up to the 29-yard line, and here's Jackaroo.
Keith, one of the traditions in Hawaii, besides pineapple, volcano, and sunshine, are the floral leis that they present to friends and family. It's a long-standing tradition, but it also shows the natives' respect for nature. Now, what they do is whenever they have someone come over or for a special holiday, as Bobby Campbell here will do for me, wishes me well and gives me the lei. But the one thing that people don't realize is you are supposed to take the lei when you leave and throw it in the ocean for good luck. I guess it'd be kind of difficult. Back when you were traveling by boat, it wasn't too tough. If you're coming by airplane, it would be difficult.
I'll go ahead and open your window. I don't want to hear any complaining, any more complaining from you, Root. Looks to me like you got pretty good duty on that.
Yeah, I thought they used to give him a kiss, too, when they put the lei on, huh?
Tommy Vardell, right up the pipe. Boom, bang, crash, 12 yards, first down for Stanford.
Take a look from ground level. The blocking, it looks a little bit like a hold on Coleman, number 95. But this one man can't bring him down. He's not going to go down the first guy that hits him. Just a tough, big runner.
43-yard line, first down for Stanford. Georgia Tech to the lead now, 10-7. Just starting the second quarter of play. Here's the pitch back to Vardell again. Little cut there, and that one little cut and stutter step is good for an extra 3 yards before Jamal Cox can wrestle him down.
Vardell is not only a outstanding player academically, he's done very well. Academic All Pac-10, holds 6 school records. He scored the first touchdown here today for Stanford. Came in with 20 touchdowns on the year not only a Stanford record, but that ranks him 3rd in total scoring in the nation.
48-yard line, 2nd down and 5 from their own 48. Stenstrom's pass, good to Lasley, gets the first down, goes down at the Georgia Tech 45, where Jarrell Williams takes his legs away.
Here's a look at the first quarter stats. The total yardage for Georgia Tech, almost 150 yards. Stanford has 55, but 48 of those yards came on their first drive of the ball game. Stanford only 12 plays, Georgia Tech with 22.
Kind of interesting that Walsh and Pinckney have been quiet.
They tried getting the ball to the backs. Georgia Tech has the quickness on the outside.
Vardell again, 3 yards. Pinckney at 6'3" and Walsh at 6'1", match up pretty well against the corners. They outsize both the corners, Clay and Day. And Chris has really become a good receiver.
Well, he caught 66 balls this year, 6 of them for touchdowns. He was 2nd in the Pac-10 in receptions and 8th in the country. He had 5 games where he caught over 100 yards in receiving. So
Pinckney comes from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. 2nd down and 7 for Stanford. Back they go to Vardell, and you can hear the collision. He's just a little bit short of the first down as Jamal Cox stood his ground, and the earth trembled when the stalwarts collided. Listen to this. I mean, that'll put a dinger on you, won't it? Whew. Vardell 51 yards now on his 8 carries. 3rd down and 1. Vardell again gets his first down. Kevin Battle had him, but he spun away from Battle and beat the 300-pounder and got his first down.
There's Battle right here, Keith, as the play comes right at him. Watch him fight off this man and try and make the play, but Vardell going to spin out of his grasp. As you mentioned earlier, over 300 pounds. Vardell does not give you an easy target. He lowers his pads. Nothing easy to grab onto.
Hilburn now checks into the backfield, and Vardell gets a breather. He's been doing the heavy work. And the darter is controlled this time by Marco Coleman and Richard Kimsey. I got a feeling that Coleman is making life kind of miserable for Whitfield.
Well, these are 2 interesting players. They'll be against each other all day long. Coleman, number 95, and Whitfield is number 70.
A little hole in there, folks.
Yep. You can find holding on almost any play along the trenches that you want to, but there's a very fine football player. 2 of them right there lined up head to head.
Stenstrom's pass is away, complete to Milburn. Inside the 20 to the 19. First down for Stanford. And I mean, Stenstrom just barely got that ball away. Coleman Rudolph was the man that almost got him.
Let's go back to that look. Here's Coleman and Whitfield. Watch Whitfield's left hand. He's outside the frame and he's holding on. That is holding right there, sports fans. Whitfield is a true junior. Announced before this game that he thought that he was going to be coming out, going into the pros. We'll finish that story in just a minute.
First down, Stenstrom. 2-step drop. My goodness. Oh, my goodness. Marvin Williams, all he had to do was catch it.
Yep, he makes some big plays for him. He didn't make that one, though.
He might still be running.
Bob Whitfield is a true junior, and he was saying the other day that everybody's been asking him all year, are you coming out? make yourself available for the pro draft. And he more or less said that yes, he was. And then it seemed as though somebody said, hey, wait, we got one more game to play. And then he kind of recanted that and said, well, I don't think so. And a reporter said, well, what would it take for you to stay in school? He said, $11 million. So he didn't recant it too much.
That pass is a little bit too high and a little bit late to Milburn. If the ball is down and in front of him, he had the play he wanted because he had the speed to beat the man over there on that side, but Stenstrom did not put it on the target.
Well, Stenstrom has done nothing but good things since he's taken over in the 5th ball game. He has started 7 games. Stanford has won all 7. He has led the Pac-10 in passing this year. Denny Green is very happy with him. He made some other changes, as we mentioned, but this offense has really gone since Stenstrom has taken over.
Georgia Tech right now has got 6 people up, now 5 as one drops off. Here comes the pressure again from Rudolph. They've got Stenstrom. That's Coleman. So Coleman whips from Whitfield there and gets his quarterback sack.
Well, we mentioned he is the all-time sack leader in the ACC. That time he goes inside of Whitfield. He's been coming upfield, gets inside of Whitfield. Coverage downfield is there long enough to allow Coleman to get to the target.
Aaron Mills is in the ball game now for a field goal try. Ball will be put down at the 28, make it a 38-yard effort. Plenty of leg on it, looks pretty good. It is right down the highway, and we are even again at 10-10 with 9:21 to play in the first half.
Unheralded powers square off as 12-0 Boise State meets 10-2 TCU in one of the most anticipated bowls of the season. Capital One Bowl Week on ESPN, the San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl. Boise State TCU, tonight at 8. College football lives here.
So 8 minutes and 13 seconds to go in the first half. And a 10-10 tie. Stanford with the ball. First down at the Georgia Tech 25. Big Tom, senior from Fort Worth.
Let's go, we're number 1. Go in.
Stenstrom so far in the ball game, 6 of 11 for 49 yards. And the Cardinal presented with a rather golden opportunity right here. And for some reason, we're having a little trouble getting this particular possession started. During the 7-game win streak by the Stanford team, they were holding the opposition to about 2 yards per rush. Well, today, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets have been averaging 8.5 yards every time they've run the ball. So that has been the big surprise of the ball game so far, is Tech's ability to run the football. Now they're ready to go. First down from the Tech 25. Stenstrom gives the ball to Vardell. And one Tech man hit him just about the line of scrimmage and went the other way. And Vardell picks up about 3. Second down and 7. Steve Stenstrom looks for the corner. Penalty flag thrown, and the pass is incomplete. John Pinckney defended very well by Willie Clay. Clay got in his pocket and would not let Pinckney have a route to the ball. In the meantime, you got a penalty against Stanford thrown along the line of scrimmage. I wonder who it was.
The foul was holding by the offense. Still second down.
Well, watch right here, the nose tackle. The holding is going to occur there. Now, if you're going to hold, you don't want to do it when the umpire is standing right here looking at you. Take a look at it. Nose man, watch the left arm of the center. Just kind of holds him, takes him down.
I thought maybe they'd caught Whitfield. It was Cavanaugh instead. All right, the 10-yard penalty backs him up, make it second down and 20. Milburn is whipsawed at the 30-yard line. Richard Kimsey. Now, Glenn Milburn is a 5'9", 175-pounder. Richard Kimsey is 6'3", 270 pounds. He is from Snellville, Georgia. And he gets his dander up occasionally. You don't want to be in there butting heads with him at 175 pounds. .650 to go, first half, 10-10 tie. Third down, 15 now for Stanford. Got his man, hit him right on the numbers. John Pinckney gets a block. Right at the corner, he didn't get in. Pinckney getting the ball for the first time today. Got it right on the numbers and got away from defenders who should have made the tackle.
For the last half of the season, Pinckney on the far left side of your screen has been an outstanding receiver for Stanford. In fact, he's caught touchdown passes in his last 4 games and 5 of his last 6. And he really wants to get in the end zone here. A great effort, just doesn't make it.
First and goal, Stanford at the 1. Guess who's going to get this ball?
I bet on 44.
Fumble. Second down and goal, Stanford. Stenstrom never got away with the ball. Lost a yard.
You know, Keith, a lot of times when that type of thing happens, the quarterback could pull away from the center too quickly. But I think more often than not, the center moves, lowers his rear end to go make his block before the snap is completed, and therefore the quarterback doesn't get the completed snap. First thing you need to do as a center and quarterback down here in particular is get the exchange.
From the 2, Vardell. Touchdown. Ken Swilling had the penetration, had an angle, but Vardell just stepped over him.
Well, Swilling, you're right. Swilling has a chance from the left side of your screen. You're not going to get a chance to see Swilling, but you're going to see the flow of the linebackers. Vardell, any lesser back, could have gone down on that. He just was determined he wasn't going down.
22 touchdowns all the season now for Tom. And Mills didn't get it through there with a whole lot of accuracy, but he did fit it in, didn't he? Stanford leading in the ball game, 17-10. Have the ball now, just short of the 30-yard line. First down. We haven't gone far enough into the game to suggest that the Stanford offensive front is starting to win anything as yet. That's pretty much a standoff so far. Here's Vardell. There's your difference. Hammer and tong for 5 yards. Here's, speaking of hammer and tong, is Jackaroo.
Well, Keith, you know, Stanford coach Denny Green likes to give nicknames and slogans to motivate his players and the team. In fact, you talked just then about Vardell. He's the one that named him Touchdown Tommy. Well, the newest nickname for the team is the Now Boys. It goes after the Wow Boys, the fellas at Stanford back that went undefeated and went on to win at the Rose Bowl. Then there were the Vow Boys, who lost to USC their freshman year, went on to win 4 straight against USC. He calls this team the Now Boys, says the future is now. He also says it's because now spelled backwards means one.
Boy, there's nothing there this time for Vardell. To follow up on what Jack was saying, Steve Stenstrom is the first Stanford quarterback to win 7 in a row since Frankie Albert led the Wow Boys to a 10-0 record back in 1940. So there are all kinds of connections to that.
Got some good quarterbacks at Stanford too, haven't they?
Oh boy, have they ever.
Jim Plunkett, John Brody. to mention a couple.
A fellow named Garrett wasn't too bad either. Mopsell, a fellow named Bunce, who's now the team orthopedic surgeon.
Yep.
That's Walsh in motion. Stenstrom back, gets a pass down the middle to Walsh. Good. But Chris Walsh, the man who had gone in motion, came slanting over the middle and makes it first down. Stanford at the Georgia Tech 44-yard line. Got a man hurt. Marcus Coleman, number 22, shaken up. Comes off. That play had some snap in it, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Pop, pop. A little quicker drop, a little quicker release. Ardell, the big back right down the middle again. They're finding some daylight where the linebackers are moving. Georgia Tech's linebackers do a lot of moving. And right now, Stanford's putting the ball in those holes. Halftime, ABC News will have a special report on Mikhail Gorbachev's resignation and where he may be going. First half highlights for you. Red, white, and blue Christmas presentation. Connie Stevens is the special guest performer this year. Glenn Milburn is down in the backfield with J.J. Lasley. Stenstrom back, gets his pass away, and they're throwing it in the same place 3 times in a row. Chris Walsh making the catch in front of Ken Swilling. That's a first down at the Georgia Tech 30-yard line. Stenstrom now 10 of 15 for 114 yards. That little rain shower. Sun's out bright though. It'll be gone before it hits the ground. That one is overthrown. Slipped away, a wet ball, and it just slipped right out of the hands of the quarterback Stenstrom. Swilling was back playing center field from his strong safety position. Walsh was in front of him. And if the ball doesn't slip, I think he probably drills Walsh for the ball because
well, that's
he had
the
some
key.
pressure.
He'd have to throw it on a line and drill him. He was open, but you throw it high and long like that, it's just made for Swilling and not the receiver.
Wind swirls around too. They've got holes at the corner of the stadium, and the wind gets in there and does funny things sometimes. It's second down and 10 for Stanford from the Georgia Tech 30, with Stanford leading 17-10. Now they're going to spend a timeout because they had burned the clock down to 1 second and he wanted to change the play. So you've got a timeout. There's your quarterback comparison here in the first half.
And add on 44 yards for Shawn Jones rushing the ball to that figure. Is that 18 yards passing?
Yep. Minute 6 to go on this first half. Stanford's ball, second down and 10, just inside the Georgia Tech 30. Cardinal lead the Engineers 17-10. Has a little swing pass under pressure, and I mean Richard Kimsey and Coleman Rudolph were about to eat Stenstrom alive, and he threw it quickly and he missed his man.
There's Rudolph, number 92. Nobody blocks him. It was supposed to be a screen, but you have to slow him down a little bit. There's no way that the back can get out to where he's supposed to be if you don't slow Rudolph down, the defensive lineman. Offensive tackle's got to bump him.
Third down and 10. Well, Stenstrom made a really bad decision because I think Steve's got some room. He get a little help from Vardell or Lasley that time if he decided to run the ball, and he might have been able to run for the first down because the coverage was very good, but the coverage was all deep. Great big hole.
It was man coverage, and Georgia Tech has not played much man coverage all year. They play mostly a zone, so they're getting something they're not expecting here, Stanford.
The wind is kicked up some now for this 47-yard field goal try by Aaron Mills. His longest 40. It hits the upright. Hit the right upright and kicked away. No good.
You could really see the wind, too, knocking that ball down.
It really did.
It was really blowing strong.
So the Yellow Jackets hold and take over. First down at their own 30 with 50 seconds to play in the first half. It's incredible how many times the football hits the upright. It's just, you know, when you think of something that small and the ungainly object that is being propelled in such a way that it is propelled with seeming lack of accuracy to hit that upright that many times.
That one just barely got there.
Yeah,
it was trying to be wide and it was trying to be short.
Jones back, getting some pressure, runs away from the pressure, gets his pass away. The pass is completed and maybe a yard or two short of the first down. Georgia Tech has 3 timeouts remaining. Greg Lester made that catch. They were going to go, look like, without a huddle, and then decided since they've got the 3 timeouts, let's spin one and get ourselves organized. 37 seconds remaining to play in the first half.
Well, Stanford is blitzing again, right up the middle. This is the typical thing that Stanford likes to do: put pressure on you. They're not big, they're not fast, so they're not going to sit back and let you come at them. They're going to put pressure on you, come up and make you do things, not give you a lot of time to think about it.
Coming up at halftime, as we told you, ABC News with a special report on Gorbachev. Highlights, 17-10, so we've had some scoring. And a red, white, and blue Christmas is our special presentation. Al Harrington again here, Melvin Lead, some of the same names that we have seen through the years performing here in the islands. It's hard for me to imagine that my first time in Hawaii was in 1947.
Where did you stay?
That was a long time ago. I was thinking it was called a barracks.
I thought maybe it was a Royal Hawaiian or something, something real luxurious and nice.
Not hardly.
But you know, I was watching something, you know, with the 50th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. I was watching something a few weeks ago, and it seemed like the Royal Hawaiian was one of the hotels that was still around at that time.
Oh yeah, it was the original.
The first ones, yeah. And that was kind of where some of the Army personnel stayed.
Grand old pink lady. All right, move that ball back now. And that won't go anywhere. Number 40, Wilkerson, in that short zone, making the catch, but it's still short of the first down. And now Georgia Tech will spend another timeout with 29 seconds to play. They have 1 remaining. Stanford's got people playing deep, playing center field to keep Tech from coming up with the big play, so they're having to look short, but they haven't been able to generate any offense. There was a picture in the paper the other day of looking at big number 70 walking around, Mike Mooney walking around carrying with flippers on him.
Yeah.
He was going snorkeling.
Yeah.
I bet you when he jumped in, even in the bay, there must have been a hole, huh?
He left his flippers at the beach, too.
They really got big kids playing football. 39-yard line. 3rd down and 1.
Well, they're getting bigger in certain areas, and they're getting faster and quicker in other areas. And in some areas, like linebacker, then they're getting stronger. So the game is really progressing in all areas.
Jones hands it off to Lincoln, and Jimmy will have the first down. So the freshman from Pittsburgh stops that clock with that first down gang, and it will stay stopped until they have placed the change. The guys with the chain are being quite deliberate about things, but then it's a warm day. Jones throws the ball into the ground, stopping the clock now to give him a chance to look to the sideline and get some help here and what kind of a play Bobby Ross wants to run. Bobby Ross, graduate of VMI, still says, yes, sir, no, sir. Becomes part of you when early in your life, your formative years, you're exposed to that. He's a terrific fellow. Ain't a bad football coach either.
Spent 5 years at Maryland and 5 years at Georgia Tech, and 5 years at the Citadel.
Second down and 10. Here comes that pressure again. Jones trying to run away from it. The pass is incomplete, intended for Jimmy Lincoln, and over defending on the play for Stanford was Dave Garnett. Garnett got himself in a fix where you had to have an outside linebacker covering a running back. That's a tough matchup for Garnett.
Strength of that Stanford defense is the two outside linebackers, and that is Garnett and Ron George. They lead the team in sacks, and as I mentioned, there's a look at George. Garnett makes all the calls. It's a very complex, the system, the scheme is very difficult. Bobby Ross was saying it's the most complex we've seen all year. Not this, though, just a three-man rush.
Jones pass thrown for Lincoln, kind of behind him. He tries to look back over his shoulder and take the ball over his head, but goes through his hands, incomplete. And now you've got 10 seconds remaining. Fourth down coming up, and Georgia Tech's going to punt it away. It's kind of interesting that Stanford defensive people now have seemingly shut down Georgia Tech's running game. It was having so much success in the first quarter. Third punt for Bender. First two have been 43 and 44 yards. That's a good one. Got a nice tight spiral. Milburn goes all the way back to his 5. Could not quite get to his wall. And that's going to run out the clock and end the first half of play. So it's 17-10. Stanford leads Georgia Tech, and we'll be back for the halftime activities after this message and a word from our ABC station. We're back at Aloha Stadium on the island of Oahu, just overlooking Pearl Harbor up on the side of the hill as Stanford leads Georgia Tech 17-10 in the Chief Eagle Aloha Bowl. The ball game turned in the second quarter for Stanford after they had managed to work out a 10-10 tie. And you can see there in the second quarter summary just how decisive the turn was.
Dominating by Stanford. In the one first down that Georgia Tech did make in the second quarter, it came very late in the second quarter. Really, it was meaningless.
Stanford effectively shutting down defensively the Georgia Tech running game, which had produced some rather large results in that first quarter of play.
Keep going hard. I don't get shit from nobody said.
The adjustment obviously subtle. I didn't see anything in particular. They went a little more to the blitz in the second quarter.
Well, they did, and that's Willie Shaw, the defensive coordinator. As I mentioned earlier, he likes to see what you're doing and take that away from you and force you to beat him some other way. He wants you to beat him left-handed if you're going to beat him at all.
Aaron Mills, number 37, is going to kick it off. Kevin Tisdale is the man that Georgia Tech likes to have return it, and he's done a good job for them this season and in particular today. And the second half is on. High floating kick down to the 5-yard line for Tisdale. Trying to get to his wall, but that wall collapses. However, he again has given Georgia Tech very good field position to start this possession out around the 32-yard line. – 17-10 ball game. Now let's see if Georgia Tech gets the kind of play here early in this second half they got early in the ball game and can retain that confidence factor that Bobby Ross has put so much premium on. Shawn Jones glides it off, and breaking clear is Rodney Wilkerson. Big run, first down, Georgia Tech, Stanford 39.
This is just the option play, and the first thing about the option is stopping the fullback. Georgia Tech comes out, gets it to the big fullback, Wilkerson, to establish the outside option. You've got to have the fullback running up the middle, and that is a big gain right off the bat for Georgia Tech.
Smith and Hendricks now can check into the backfield for Georgia Tech. They go double wide. Lester is down at the bottom of the picture. Jones, a straight drop, swings it off to Smith. Smith has Tech's touchdown of the game. He goes from the 39 down to about the 31, pick up 8. That'll be second down and 2.
Smith is their receiving back. When they want to throw the football, they like to get him in the ball game. He caught 23 coming in. A lot of the passes that Georgia Tech throws is behind the line of scrimmage because they like to get the high percentage pass, get it to the back, and let him run with the football.
Second and 2. Goes the fullback again, Wilkerson. And he'll have his first down, it appears, as they have marked the ball beyond the 29. The wind's kicking up now. It's blowing harder than it's been blowing all day. Bringing with it occasional showers.
A little mist every now and then.
Very difficult stadium when the wind blows. Jones gives to Lincoln, tries to come back the other way, winds up losing back to the 31-yard line as Coy Gibbs read the play, and when Lincoln turned to come back, Gibbs was waiting for him. He's played very well.
Coy Gibbs, we mentioned earlier, the son of Joe Gibbs. I was out on the streets of Honolulu yesterday and ran into Nathan Olson, the son of Merlin Olson. And both of these young men really a tribute to their fathers. Their fathers are fine gentlemen, and the same with their sons.
Now it is second down and 12. Jones lets it fly. Rodriguez is down there, and it is incomplete. Threw for the flag, and Darian Gordon was right with Rodriguez and had him played perfectly.
Rodriguez, number 3, was a starter all of last season. I think that's a good play. I mean, you may have thought that Gordon put his arm out a little too soon, but you got to let them play, and for my money, I'd let that go. Lining up again.
Tech spreading out more. Hit from behind. The ball is intercepted by Tyrone Parker.
Lateral, Tyrone.
Big defensive lineman has a moment in the sun. The hit was supplied by Ron George. All flopped up in the air out of the hand of Jones and right into the arms of Tyrone Parker, 295-pound junior from Brooklyn.
Well, there's Parker, number 60. Jones causes it. Tyrone Parker was an offensive lineman at the beginning of the season. Move to defense, gets his big chance to run one back.
Man, did you see my move?
But the play was set up by the pressure by Ron George.
And it's first down Stanford, right on the midfield stripe as a result of Tyrone's interception. All given to Fardell. Another crash bang slam run for 6 yards. Down to the Georgia Tech 44.
Stanford, Keith, is not used to getting many turnovers. They are second from last in the Pac-10 in interceptions. They only had 7 all of this year.
Tyrone Parker, though, is another example of the kind of thing you've got to do at a school like a Georgia Tech or a Stanford and several others, where you move your people around.
Defensive line was very thin earlier in the year. He was a backup guard.
Fardell for the first down. Looks like now Dennis Green has just decided, let's go out there and beat on him if we can.
Well, with the big offensive line that Green has, and again, we mentioned they average 6'6" and 300 pounds. And there you see, have a look at them. You've got Milburn in the backfield, who is the darter. He is the 5'9", 165, great receiver, good runner. And you've got the power back there also in Vardell. So you've really got just about everything you want. You've got good passing, good running, and a big offensive line.
Battle is out of there at nose guard, and Ryan Baxter is in replacing him. So they've got a fresh man in the middle as Vardell carries, and he's wrestled down by Jamal Cox and company after picking up about 2 yards. Here's Jack.
Keith, you know, 1 year ago, the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck was in Orlando, Florida, competing in the Citrus Bowl on their way to winning one of these rings, signifying that they were the co-national champions for last year. Well, all of the players that played on that team have rings like this, except one player, that's Jarrell Williams. You see, when he was measured for his ring, he got his father's measurement, Walter. He brought the ring home to his father and said, "In my heart, you're #1, Dad. You keep the ring."
Nice thing to do.
Sir.
2nd down and 8. Stenstrom back now. Gets his pass away underneath. And sitting on Vardell was number 39, Cox. It looks like Cox has become Vardell's spy, doesn't it?
Cox is just a true freshman. He's playing this year for the first time at Georgia Tech. And Vardell, on the other hand, is a 5th-year senior. So before Vardell leaves the collegiate ranks, Cox is getting a little bit of an indoctrination with him.
You got 3 wideouts out there now. As David Shaw checks in. That's Walsh in motion. They had success throwing the ball down the middle. That's intercepted. Intercepted by Eric Fry. Bad pass by Stenstrom.
The Fry's number 57 right in the middle of your screen. He's looking for the receiver to come inside. Great recognition of the pass route. Fry sees it, steps in front, makes the interception.
I mean, he threw that baby into a house full.
Yeah.
All right, the teams have exchanged interceptions here, with a lineman and a linebacker making the interceptions. And now Georgia Tech goes to work from its 31-yard line. This is Michael Smith for 3 yards on the carry, out to about the 34. We are in the 3rd quarter of play in the Jeep Eagle Aloha Bowl. Stanford leading Tech by a 17-10 score. It's been a relatively slow-paced ball game. I think part of it has to do with the temperature, the feeling at least that they want to watch out for fatigue as they wear down toward the end of this ball game, because so many times teams have just run out of gas. But so far, the breeze and the occasional little light showers have kept them quite comfortable. Number 17, Tom Covington, makes the reception, and he is taken out of bounds at the 37-yard line. He's going to be 4 yards short of his first down.
Covington hurt a knee earlier in the season, and Bobby Ross was saying yesterday that instead of having the knee surgically repaired immediately, this being his last year at school, that he waited and is going to have the surgery performed after the season's over with. He wanted to get that last year at Georgia Tech in.
That's Stiegel in motion. Jones going to roll out, buying some time, pressure coming, ball's loose, fumble, and recovered by Georgia Tech at the 31. Well, both these quarterbacks, oh, now they say no, the other way.
Well, we got one pointing one way and one pointing the other way.
Now he changed it again.
Yeah.
I saw 2 white shirts on top of the ball. I couldn't figure out how in the world it could have squirted loose from them. But anything's possible, I guess.
Well, we mentioned that the key to this defense for Stanford was the 2 outside linebackers. Number 42 at the top left of your screen now. That's Garnett. He's the man that causes the fumble. There are 2 Georgia Tech men there to recover it.
Jackets now have 40 turnovers. That's a punch. That's a beautiful kick by Bender. Milburn lets it go, and it's a 9-iron chop, and it's going to roll dead down around the 5-yard line, make it the 4. So Milburn, looking at it, thinking that thing is going to hit the ground and bounce onto the end zone, is betrayed. It winds up a 67-yard punt, dead at the Stanford 4. Take a look at this now, and Bob, you have a feeling that this hurry business might have affected
This
him
was
here.
the last play before the fumble. They rushed up, hurry up, get up the line of scrimmage, snap the ball. And you don't want to do that on the 1-yard line. You want everything to be normal. His own man knocked the ball loose. Smith, number 41, knocked the ball loose inadvertently. But when you're on the goal line, I mean, you don't want to do anything gimmicky. I mean, maybe in the middle of the field, I think the reason they like to do that is because Stanford likes to check off defensively, react to your formations, but don't do that on the 1 yard line.
They'll work out of the end zone here, and Tommy Vardell is not in the lineup. J.J. Lastly calls there. Mark Hudson-Buehler is in there with him, and let's see what we can find out with Jack.
Well, Keith, as you can see, Tommy Vardell is talking to the trainers right now. I asked him if he had a problem. The trainer said, well, he's having some problems with his shoulders. So I asked the trainer, is it a soreness? He says, no, he's just complaining about weariness in the shoulders when we carry the ball as much as he has, but he refuses to come out of the game. He says he's going to stay in as long as he can. Maybe they shouldn't call him Touchdown Tommy. They should call him Tough Tommy.
Yeah, I think so.
Weariness, if he's talking about weariness, that could be just, he could maybe got a stinger or something in his shoulder, just a nerve zinger.
Stenstrom rolls it out and throws it out of the end zone and completes it up to Lastly, and Lastly's going to get the ball up to around the 8-yard line, maybe the 9. Stanford's starting position in their last 3 possessions have not been particularly good. 4, 5, and 1 yard lines.
So look, statistics after 3 quarters, the total yardage is about the same. Turnovers, Georgia Tech has 3 and the Stanford just the 1.
Marlon Williams has again come off the field for Tech. He's having shoulder troubles himself. 210-pound outside linebacker. It's 3rd down and 2 for Stanford. This is Lastly, and he's got his first down. Slanted it to the outside, found just enough room and picked up the first down. We're in the 4th quarter now. Stanford is leading Tech 17-10. And possessing the ball, having just picked up the first down, out to the 14. So every tick of the clock as we wind it down is to the advantage of the Stanford Cardinal, and Milburn is now the high back or the tailback. He has it, looking for some daylight. Won't find much, gets up around the 15. Marco Coleman, 1 more tackle. Marco is a junior from Dayton, Ohio. Milburn is in there right now with Mark Hudson-Buehler. Hudson-Buehler is a big fella, 225-pound sophomore. He is out of Gulf, California. Coleman Rudolph, 265 pounds, junior, comes from Valdosta, which is certainly famous enough for its high school football. Milburn trying to run away from that tackle. And the loop was coming from the outside. Number 57, Eric Fry, had looped around the offensive lineman and ran him down, literally.
Talk about Coleman Rudolph, Keith. This summer he got together with a couple of his teammates, and you talk about true team spirit, solid through and through. They went to a tattoo parlor and they had the mascot, Buzz, the Georgia Tech mascot, tattooed on their arms. Now, Buzz is a 1930 Model A Ford. He said that says it was a spur of the moment thing. I haven't started to regret it yet, but I'm sure that in the future I will. Boys will be boys.
Penalty flags flying. Pass is complete to Chris Walsh, but one more time that may be wiped out by penalty. Let's see about it. Jackson lost a catch and a hard lick a little while ago because of penalty.
It's like he may have a cramp, Chris Walsh. We've talked about Bob Whitfield and the possibility of him coming out, to making himself available for the NFL draft. He is just a true junior. He has started every game that he has been at the farm for Stanford. He started as a 17-year-old freshman. He has started 34 games in a row. His counterpart on the other side, Marco Coleman, that we've been following all day, is a 4th-year junior, and he has said that he'll decide after the game is over with and where he might be drafted, whether or not he's going to come out and make himself available.
Big play here for the Georgia Tech defense, and Coleman Rudolph almost got to him. They go for the screen pass to Lastly. But it doesn't do a whole lot for them. Gets them back up to the 16-yard line and leaves them 4 yards short of the first down. And so now Stanford's got to go to the punt. Now remember, Stanford lost their punter a little while ago, and Aaron Mills, the backup punter, has got to come in.
Yep. At front four, pressuring again. That's Rudolph, 92.
Parker Bailey last time had a bad snap. He's got to be thinking about that. He gets this one right on the money to Mills. The punt's out of there. Well, so much for any concern about that. He just knocked it out of town. He overkicked the coverage to Willie Clay, and Clay gets a decent run back because there wasn't anybody back there.
For sure.
But he clobbered that thing. 58-yard punt by Aaron Mills. Third down, Stenstrom back, gets it away, and it was a lame ducker. Chris Walsh was over there and was open, but he turned away from the flight of the ball just as Stenstrom let it go. So they don't hook up, and it brings up fourth down. Glenn Milburn continues to be amazing, though, in a lot of ways, Bob, and what he contributes to his football team. Milburn today has run for 56 yards. He's caught a pass for 13 yards. Kickoff returns total 70 yards. Punt returns 37 yards. That's 176 total yards.
Yeah, he does it all. Yep.
Get it.
Spun out of there by Mills. He's done a good job punting for. Look at this. He got his wall.
There you go.
One man. Now they start to catch up with him, and Leslie runs him down. Number 4. Willie Clay. Oh my goodness, he took 2 steps, had his wall, and was long gone.
Well, he's been quiet all day long. Willie Clay playing in the same backfield with Swilling, doesn't get the notoriety. Here's the wall set up for Willie Clay. He's run a punt back for a touchdown this year. He's had an interception back for a touchdown this year. He came in with 9 interceptions. He is an All-American, and he has finally put his mark on this ballgame.
He just returned that punt 63 yards. Shawn Jones hit just as he throws, and it is incomplete. And he is taken down by number 95, Coy Gibbs.
Here's the All-American. Big play Clay, they call him.
Senior from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Ball is at the 31, second down and 10 for Georgia Tech. 17 to 10. You got 1 minute and 35 seconds to play in the ball game. There are the timeouts remaining. They run the ball again with Rodney Wilkerson and pick up pretty good yardage on it. That 63-yard punt return by Clay is an Aloha Bowl record. We get Rodriguez now. We get Stiegel checking in. You get Derek Gaucher checking in at a tight end position. Coming up on 1 minute to go in the game. There's your time down in the right-hand corner. Third down and 3 for Tech. Jones, sealed off on the corner, will have the first down. Hit down at the 17-yard line of Stanford. And that stops your clock as they move the chains with 50 seconds to play in the ball game.
Georgia Tech needs it. They go to the option. That's a good block on Garnett by Mooney to get Shawn Jones outside. He thinks better of pitching the ball. Timeout with 50 seconds remaining.
The Stanford defense has now been summoned to the sidelines. The entire Georgia Tech offense has gone to the sidelines. Some of us can remember when this was not allowed. But nowadays, the entire team can go have their conversation. But what set up this opportunity for Georgia Tech late in the game is this punt return by Willie Clay.
Well, Willie Clay has been quiet all afternoon. They had not been throwing in his area. He has done this all year long. In fact, he leads the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets in career punt returns.
So now we've got 50 seconds to play.
Clay has had 2 interceptions in a game 5 times in his career. 3 times this year, and he also returns punts very well, as you just saw.
From the 17, first down for Tech. 3 wide people. Pitch it out to Lincoln. Jimmy Lincoln down to the 2-yard line. Gets out of bounds to stop the clock. And you got 42 seconds to play. No huddle. Come right to the line.
Did he get out of bounds? Or
he stopped it at 41. I don't know what they're hurrying about because they stopped the clock getting out of bounds at 41 seconds.
Well, I don't think he did get out. No, they really didn't get out. And Stanford goes for the timeout.
Even if you didn't get out of bounds, you get a stopping of the clock because of the moving of the chains. I mean, the clock sat there on 41 seconds.
Yeah, although that was
a long time.
Yeah, but then as soon as it was marked ready for play, I think what Georgia Tech is trying to do is run their offense as quickly as they can. So Stanford, who matches up defensively to what you're doing on offense, doesn't get an opportunity to see and substitute what you're doing.
Ball is at the 2-yard line. You got 37 seconds left to play in the ball game. All right, here you go. First and goal, Georgia Tech at the Stanford 2.
Option.
Lincoln stopped at the 1. Dave Garnett, number 42 in red, was the man down on the bottom there. Now Jones throws the ball into the ground, stopping your clock at 18 seconds.
Well, you've got 18 seconds. It's 3rd down. You've got to make. If you don't make it on this one, obviously you're going for it on 4th down.
Oh, sure.
So you got 2 downs to make to win the ball game.
I want to see what he's going to do if he scores.
He's got to get outside the pocket. Shawn Jones' strength is outside the pocket, either on an option or a rollout.
3rd and goal from the 1. Here he comes. Touchdown. Comes with 14 seconds to play. Willie Clay's name gets bigger and bigger for that 63-yard punt return. Kicking game, kicking game, kicking game. How many times does it play a role?
Yep.
Huh?
First thing you got to do is take away the quarterback, force the pitch. Now they're going to go for 2. Take the timeout to talk about it.
I'm not sure I wouldn't run the same thing.
Going for 2.
Yep.
It's got to be the same type of thing, an option
Yep.
or outside the pocket with Shawn Jones. And coming into the ball game, Willie Shaw, defensive coordinator for Stanford, said the thing we want to do is take the ball out of Shawn Jones's hand if he comes on the option, or contain him if he tries to get out on the pass.
Here's another look at the touchdown.
Watch 42, that's Garnett. Watch him widen and not take the ball out of the quarterback's hand.
So you got to figure they're going to go with something similar. Coleman is out on the field, shouting to his teammates. Both have huddled now. Stanford on the far side defensively, Georgia Tech on this side offensively. And here's your ball game right here. They succeed with this play, they win. They don't, they lose. makes the two-point conversion and takes the lead 18-17. They'll be penalized for celebrating, but that hardly will matter to them. Stanford is stunned. Maybe they got a little complacent. Maybe they got a little lazy. Maybe. Whatever it was Willie Clay's 63-yard punt return that set up this chance. And the Jackets have cashed it in.
This is just tough running by a redshirt freshman, rookie of the year in the ACC.
So Stanford's 7-game win string very likely to be broken. Still 14 seconds remaining. And you see Dennis Green's reaction to it. Game is played for 60 minutes.
I think of two things right now, Keith. I think of Willie Clay, who really got him back in the ball game with a chance to win. And then before that, Tommy Vardell. If Vardell had been in and healthy and taking time off the clock and making first downs, they wouldn't have had to punt the ball to Willie Clay.
True. Very true. Well, I think to go past Clay, to go to a guy who's been there all day now and button heads with Big Bob Whitfield, Marco Coleman has played a terrific football game.
There's no question. No question.
I mean, a terrific. So they get, here's what happens when they're out on the field celebrating and they threw the flag on them, and that obviously is going to cost you 15, so they'll have to kick it from the 20. And it'll be Tyler Jarrett, and you want Milburn or Ozzie Granardo and Milburn are deep, standing actually upfield from their own 20-yard line. So they're expecting to get the ball down around their 20-25. Will. That's a good high kick, though. Should be able to cover it pretty well. Granardo is taken down at the 41-yard line and 8 seconds left to play.
Seconds, so you just got to hope for a long completion. You do have the wind at your back. Stop the clock and get your field goal kicker in there, but
well, they'll send in everybody that can run. There's Justin Armour, who is 6'6", 210-pounder, former quarterback. He's come onto the field as a flanker. Pinckney's out there. Walsh is out there.
Well, if you can get a 25 or 30-yard completion along the sideline and get out of bounds,
hey, give Mills a chance.
You get a shot at it, but that's.
They got one timeout to work with. Stenstrom steps up, throws it, incomplete. Now there's 2 seconds. So one would surmise here, at least they're within a half a breath of victory. And Denny Green is not a happy camper.
And you've got to wonder, as we started the show about 3 hours ago about the coaches, and you know, tough loss for Denny Green. Will he be back at Stanford to continue what he has done there, and will Bobby Ross be back at Georgia Tech? And will Marco Coleman?
Marco Coleman puts the exclamation point on the Georgia Tech victory over Stanford. Your final score, Georgia Tech 18, Stanford 17. Now let's go down to Jackaroot.
Well, congratulations, Coach. Just a terrific day today.
Well, it was a hard win, but, you know, we knew it was going to be that way, Jack. They're a fine football team, and they can do a lot of things. And, you know, they got a great power game, and they got a great throwing game. But our kids hung in there. That was the thing. We hung in there with great
well, congratulations.
The most valuable players in the Jeep Eagle Aloha Bowl are Shawn Jones of Georgia Tech and Tommy Vardell of Stanford. Check on the amount of $1,000 to be donated by Jeep Eagle to each school's general scholarship fund to further assist qualified students to pursue their education. Now this is how it came to an end after Willie Clay's 63-yard punt return. Shawn Jones options into the end zone from 2 yards out. Then they go for 2. They pitch it back to Jimmy Lincoln, and the tough little freshman sticks it in the end zone, and Georgia Tech wins it over Stanford 18-17.